Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Cyber Claims Impacting Community Associations and the coverage needed to avoid them. I'm Marketing Manager Sherry Branson, and I'm now joined by Kevin Davis, the president of Kevin Davis Insurance. Kevin joins me from Los Angeles. Hey, Kevin.
There you go. I'm up. Hey Sherry, how
Great.
you doing?
I'm doing great, Kevin. I can't believe it's November already. Here we are. The holidays are right around the corner, and we're doing a webinar topic that we haven't done in quite a while.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? You thinking about being in November, and we got Thanksgiving coming up, and then we got Christmas, and the year's over already. Can you imagine that? I mean, this has been a really quick year.
It really has. It's flown right by. I mean, and yeah, we've done a lot of great webinars this year. We haven't, if you can please take a second to read the disclaimer on the screen. We have a disclaimer there. We've done a lot of great topics, and as I mentioned, we haven't done cyber in quite a while. So I'm excited to talk about it. I mean, there's a lot going on with cyber in the industry and just in general, you
It
know.
really, I tell you, it's a lot going on, but nobody hears about it because you don't see those massive lawsuits that you see on TV all the time. You turn on TV and you have all kind of, Lake Lejeune, all these different things that you see on TV. Every lawyer in there, but the lawyers are not talking about cyber claims, so we forget about them. So today, what we're going to do, Sharon, and kind of our goal is to talk about the cyber claims we're seeing for community associations. So specifically for community association claims, we'll talk about some tips to avoid them, and then the coverage that you need in order to really protect the boards of directors of community association against these cyber claims. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. Very timely topic. And I did want to take a second to mention that we record all of our webinars and we put them on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/kdisonline.com. So feel free to listen to the recording of today's webinar again. And we have all of our past webinars there as well. We have them about D&O, about crime, about excess liability, all for community associations. So you can listen to all of our webinars on one YouTube channel. So please feel free to enjoy that. And at the end of today's session, we're going to do a Q&A session, question and answer. And if we don't get to all of your questions, don't worry. You can always email me the question. My email is sherry.branson@amwins.com. If we don't get to your question or you think of something later on, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to help you out and answer your question as well. And today, Kevin, we're going to talk about, community associations specifically related to cyber and how their claims and what they face is very unique compared to other businesses.
Yeah, that's right. And this is the thing we have to understand. When we talk about community associations and the cyber theft, these they're looking at ways of getting money and data, okay, easiest way as possible. And we know right now, when we talk about community associations, right? They don't have a person who handles any cybersecurity. They don't have what's called an IT professional. They don't have, documentation. They don't have a plan of action if there is a cyber event. So you're talking about these people who are not sophisticated. They don't have that knowledge, okay? But what they do have is two things that every cyber theft want, and that is number one, the data that's inside every homeowner association. You live in an HOA, right, Sherry?
Yes.
Just think that, the information you give to your homeowner association, it allows them to get money from your checking account. They have a lot of your valuable information.
Hmm.
So they want that. They also want access to that reserve account that's out there, that's
Hmm.
in your bank, that's in your association's bank. So they're looking at that and they know. And people who live in community associations, those board of directors, guess what they're saying? It's secure. My property manager has them. I don't have to worry about that. Or guess what? We don't have access to any information. We don't have any money. And so there's a sense of like we don't have to worry about it.
Right. Security, a sense of security.
Yeah.
And you're right, Kevin. You're handing over your checking account numbers, your social security number,
Hmm.
your name, address, all the information that these hackers want to get.
Hmm.
It's with the association and with the property management company.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just something simple as your driver's license information that you may give to the security guy at the front desk as you go or the front gate. And all that information is stored. And that information, again, as a cyber criminal, they're looking at that and it's a gold mine of information and information from people from all walks of life. So it's not like if you you hack somebody's office in there. You're hacking, maybe 100 people in a 100-unit condominium, but it might be three people live in each unit. So it can be a lot there. It can be a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. And people, like you said, they just don't think about it. They just kind of give the information, hand it over, and then
Mhm.
they forget about it.
Yep. Yep.
Unfortunately, until something happens.
Mhm.
And community associations are unique situations, like you said. They're not big corporations. They don't have gigantic IT departments to
Mhm.
protect data, that kind of a thing. So,
Mhm.
what does the landscape look like, Kevin, for
Sure.
community associations?
All right, I divide them into four areas that we have to be concerned about. Number one, social engineering. And social engineering is just manipulating somebody to give you information. Ransom demand, ransom payments. These are extortions where, guess what? You're going to click on the link, and that link will shut down your whole system, and you got to pay me in order to get a key to unlock it. Then the third one that we don't talk about enough is management company and other third-party vendors. Your landscaper, okay? Your property manager, maybe a painter, a contractor, somebody in there, a security firm may have information that they can use. And again, you've had a sense of security, believe that, guess what? I gave it to them, it'll be okay. You know, you're misinformed. And finally, you have something called inside threats. These are insiders that maybe intentionally or unintentionally will do things to cause a loss in your association.
Mhm. Yeah, there's many different ways or many different locations that this information is stored, and many people have access to it.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So let's start with number one. The first thing here we're talking about is social engineering. This by far is the number one area of claims you're going to see in cyber because it's the easiest way. So let's
Mhm.
talk about what social engineering is. It is the intentional misleading of an individual through the use of communication. So that's all I'm doing. I'm intentionally going to mislead you into thinking that I'm somebody that I'm not.
Mhm.
And the way they do it is this here. The perfect example here is this. You know, we have a landscaper. Landscaper gets hacked. All of a sudden, he has access to all the emails. So you send the emails to all his clients and say, please see attached, invoice, please remit as soon as possible to avoid late fees. Please note our new bank and routing number. So
Mhm.
once you see that new banking routing number, okay, that's what it is. So basically, what he's done is to trick you into believing that he's a landscaper, and he's not. He's somebody's fictitious, acting like he's a landscaper. And guess what happens? Now, all of a sudden, you will have a loss in there of, whatever it's going to be. This happens a lot these days because, especially in community associations, because of relationship between the manager and the board of directors, because that board of directors will often make phone calls, okay, or emails. And emails is probably the number one way these things happen, through business emails, business
Mhm.
exchanges. By
Mhm.
it's easy, and we know the property management companies are overworked, and they're so overworked that they miss that. They don't make that phone call, you know.
Mhm.
And so we see these things a lot.
Yeah. And the emails, Kevin, look very legitimate. The hackers are able to craft them. They'll take the company logo and put it they make it look like a real email from that particular
And I
vendor
guess
or
the
company.
key word is phishing. I maybe mentioned this, the phishing. What they do, they use social engineering to phish. They send these emails out like this, see attached invoice, right? They phishing for responses, And
Mhm.
now the word phishing has expanded right now because you got not just emails, but now you have phone. And again, and we see them all the time. You get text messages and phone calls, people pretending to be somebody they're not. How
Mhm.
many calls I get because my name, Kevin Davis Insurance Services is on the door. So we have people in my office. I have my controller who always make a call and say, Kevin, how many gift cards do you need? I didn't ask for gift
Mhm.
cards. Then I got an email from you that said you need some gift cards because you're going to give them out at a meeting. Um, and again, I said, nope, no gift cards, not giving anything out.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a
Mm.
real situation that did happen a few years ago.
Yeah, yep,
Hmm.
yep.
Hmm.
And again, and what happens is that these things you'll start seeing them lead to wire transfer fraud claims, computer theft claims, and this was makes social engineering so difficult because all they want to do is trick you into believing I'm somebody that I'm not.
Absolutely. I did meet a treasurer once at a trade show a few years back, and she said that somebody had hacked into their email, into one of the board members' email. Yeah, it was one of the board members, and sent an email, pretending to be the board member, and basically requested the treasurer should cut a check for $10,000 to buy a painting for the lobby of the condo association.
Mhm.
And she was a smart person, though. She picked up the phone and she called that board member and said, do you need a $10,000 check, for a painting? And
Mhm.
no,
Yep.
what are you
Mhm.
talking about? No. And so but they'll try anything. They'll try
Yep.
anything, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. It's the easiest way to trick somebody, get the money. It's easier to do that than it is to send out anything else to do any other way. Easiest way to trick you into giving me information.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we're trusting.
Absolutely.
We're trusting people. So
Yeah, and you're
yeah.
busy, you see an email, and some people would just be inclined to, okay, they get emails all the time requesting checks or with invoices, vendor invoices. And if it's the vendor you're working with, you think, oh, okay, they changed their account.
Mhm.
Hmm.
All right, let's go to number two.
Okay.
Number two, ransomware. This is a big one right now. It is, again, what they want to do is the same thing when we did talk about social engineering, right? They want to do the phishing, to get you to click on something. And again, it could be text, it could be voice, whatever it is, to click on it. And once you click on it, your whole system's been encrypted. So now all of a sudden you don't have access to your data. Okay. And what you
Hmm.
need to do is pay for it and then give you a key to unlock it,
Hmm.
you know. And
Yeah.
this right now, again, it's massive right now. It really truly is.
Yeah. You're here. I heard of a whole town in Florida that was victims of ransomware, where they basically froze the town's computer system,
Mhm.
in a hospital. I know a hospital in Los Angeles, they had their files frozen as well. And I think they asked for Bitcoin. It was Bitcoin
Yeah,
as
exactly, exactly.
hmm. Hmm.
In fact, right now, the average of a ransomware is 5.2 million. I just looked it up a little bit a while ago. In 2024, 5.2 million, which is up from a couple of years. It used to be like 3 or 2 million. Last time I did was like $3 million. Now it's up to 5.2. And the largest one we just had in May of $75 million.
Oh, 75 million.
75
Wow.
million. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's incredible. And this
Mhm.
is done through email as well, Kevin, right?
Well,
It's just
now it's interesting. It's not only
now,
done through email.
how does this happen now?
Yeah, this is interesting. Not only through email, and same thing we talked about the phishing things, but you have fake tech support. They'll come in and say, "Okay, I'm
Mhm.
here to help you out. I heard you have issues with your tech," and people walk them in there to their server room, and all of a sudden they have access to the information. You know,
Oh.
you have fake apps now.
Hmm.
Now, here's the one thing that people don't understand or don't know about. This is brand new. Now, you say I have the USB drives that you stick in your computer. Now,
Hmm.
we know we don't do that anymore unless we know what it is, right?
Right.
Right?
Of
Because
course.
there's
Yeah.
a whole bunch of them they used to throw out there and you put them in and boom, you lock your system out. There's
Right.
something new, the QR codes.
Oh.
Watch out for them. Yes, the QR codes. If you don't know, you don't trust, don't do it because the QR codes are now doing the same thing the USB drives used to do.
Oh my. So they're hacking through QR codes as
Yeah,
well.
you put the QR code, they get
Oh
inside your
boy.
system, and it's the same thing.
That's a virus. You're downloading the
You're
virus.
downloading the virus. So
Wow.
yes.
Okay.
So this is again, this is a new area. It's whenever something new comes out, somebody figure out a way to trick
To
you into it.
to
So
trick you
QR
into it.
codes, same thing as
Mhm.
USB.
Wow.
Don't click on something you don't know what you're clicking onto because you're letting them in your system.
Hmm. Wow, that's incredible. And I'll just relay a personal situation that happened to me probably like 7, 8 years ago. I was calling for tech support on my own personal computer, my own
Hmm.
laptop, and I looked up the number for Apple, and I called them. Well, it turned out to be a fake Apple page, like tech
Yeah.
support.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
looked up the 1-800 number, I called it. And it sounded a little off when I was talking to the person. Then I heard people talking in the background. I thought something, but then it seemed kind of legit. Then they wanted to go onto my laptop, like,
Oh wow, yeah.
you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
you give them access to your computer, to
Hmm.
fix the problem. So anyway, make a long story short, I was almost going to do it, and then I just stopped. And I said, I think I'm going to call back. I said, but thank you. And then he got nervous. He got really,
Mm,
really nervous, And I said, yeah, this is a fake Apple.
yeah.
Fake Apple IT
And
support.
what makes it harder today is we're using AI. With AI, they're doing
Yeah.
such a great job of making it seem like it's real.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
go to AI and go to ChatGPT and say, guess what? How do I use ransomware? How
Right.
and it gives you directions how to do it.
Oh,
Um,
so it's
and
even teaching like it so anybody can really learn how to do it. Yeah.
you can just Google it and they teach you how to do it. So it's not that
Yeah.
it's it's, it's not the part of teaching it. The part is that it's getting more sophisticated. So
Yeah.
sophistication has gotten stronger and gotten better, and we're being tricked more and more and more. And again, once that happened, you're locked. It's locked in, and
Yeah.
you can't get access. You got to pay, and hopefully, not only they give you the key, but they don't use the information that they have access to. So you have all the data there. So you got to hope for two things. Number one, that they let you allow you to use your computer, and then number two, that you allow you that have they didn't steal the data that was in the computer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're coming up with more devious ways to get in there and to get like the QR codes and
Hmm.
creating fake pages where they're listing their phone numbers and they'll do it over the phone. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So
Okay, let's go number three.
there. Hmm.
Number three, and this is the one that boards of directors have to understand that management company and other third-party vendors have access to sensitive data that you have. They have access to this data. Okay, now once that data is compromised, then you have a problem. Okay. Something simple I just mentioned the landscape. The landscaper downloaded all the email addresses and all the information. They start sending out fake emails to everybody. Okay. So that's a landscaper. The property manager, the same thing can happen. The property manager can do something, it can download it, can download one of these viruses or ransomware attack. Now the association is suffering. And the question is, and again, from a third party or property manager point of view, who is responsible? Well, first of all, it
Right.
goes back to who owns the data. But
Right.
here's the most important part to me. What does the contract says? Now you have a contract with your landscaper, your vendor, all your vendors, your management company. What does it say? Does the contract says that we will take full responsibility if there's any data breach? Does it say anything about it at all? You
Right.
have to look at the contract.
Yeah,
If it
this
doesn't
is where
say
you
anything
have
at
to get the
all,
attorney involved, your association attorney involved to make sure your contracts do have something
yeah. Mhm.
pertaining to data breach.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
They need to right now, if I give a piece of advice, and we'll save some of the tips later, make sure that you add in your contract, managed company contract, or any of your vendor contract, something about uh, data protection, okay? And indemnity in case that there is a data breach from your organization that we will be indemnified, the homeowner association. Normally, it's the other way around. The management company, they want full protection. They want to be held harmless for anything that being done. When you're signing contracts right now, when you enter into contracts right now, you have to look and see who's responsible if there's a data breach, because there's a lot of data out there that the third-party vendors have access to, including cloud-based, services also. They all have these things, okay?
Mhm.
And some are better than the other. So at the end of the day, it's going to go back to the contract itself.
Mhm. And if there's no mention of it at all in the contract, then it's going to be kind of messy.
It's very messy. It's up to the match company or the landscaper and say, guess what? We've had a data breach. We will take care of it for you. Now, if that happens, you're in great shape. But if
Right.
it doesn't happen, the manager or the landscaper can say, guess what? It wasn't us.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't us. We didn't experience any data breaches. So you gotta have a contract that says what's going on. Now, there's state laws that may help you out also. There's state laws, data laws, privacy laws that you may be able to fall back on. But you got to be careful because they don't answer all of it. The best way to do it is by handling by contract.
Hmm. Absolutely. Great information and great tips.
Mhm.
Great. I'm sure a lot of associations don't even think about that, when they're putting together their contracts. So that's fantastic information. I
Oh,
did
and one more. Let me give
mention,
you one more piece of information there before we go into number four.
I did want to mention one more time that we record all of the webinars and we put them on our YouTube channel, which is youtube/kdasonline.com. And we're doing the Q&A at the end for your questions.
Okay.
Great. And now we're going to move on to number
But no,
four,
no,
Kevin.
one more point before we move on to
Yes.
the next one. And
hmm
remember this, limit the data you give to the management company and third parties. Limit it. Okay. You don't have to
Okay,
give them
great
all
tip.
that information.
Yeah.
Limit it. That way, if there is a loss, you're
Yeah.
not going to be responsible because they don't have all that personal identifiable information.
hmm
Okay.
That's a great tip. Great
Yep.
tip.
Okay. So
Mhm.
let's go to number four.
Okay. Insider threats.
Insider threat. These are people who happen to live in your community association or vendors, contractors, anybody who come in and either intentionally, unconventionally compromise your security system. Okay. And this is what we're talking about here is you got disgruntled employees, disgruntled volunteers, people who used to work there, people who worked there or was on the board years ago. And guess what? The board has never done. Change their password. The same password they had for 10 years. You have several different board members come in and go. And guess what? They're upset because of the way things were handled. And so they get information and now they want to get back. They see the reserve account in there. They see there's money in there and temptation is great not only from a disgruntled volunteer or a board member, but somebody else who lives in that household. It
Mhm.
could be a guest, it could be a spouse, it could be somebody else who looks and see there's money in there and the money is gone. So you got to be able to understand that there's insider threat from people who have access to that information that should not have access to the information. And again, it could be on purpose, it could be disgruntled, or it could be by mistake. They can have this data, and all of a sudden they go, okay, well, guess what? We don't need that data anymore, so we're going to throw it in the trash. Because again, this is paper files also. We're going to get rid of it. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you, Sherry, the outstanding people who haven't paid their assessments. Okay. And with all their data in there, and I pushed the wrong button, and guess what happened? It goes to everybody. So now
Right.
I'm saying that's a data breach, you know.
hmm The whole association gets it. And
Yeah.
then exactly.
Mhm. And there's one tricky area that we have to be careful for with insider threats. There's one thing that a lot of associations are doing is taking biometric information from you. So in other words, open up your computer and they take your face and they get it and let you in the doors or thumbprints, just like we do with a lot of stuff that we're doing right now.
Right.
Well,
Right.
guess what? Certain laws says you cannot do that. Okay? You cannot store, collect, and disseminate information, biometric information. I know Illinois is one. I think California has some kind of privacy law also. A couple other states do also. But you have to be careful biometrics. A lot of people are using it now.
Make sure you know the law in your
Make sure you
state.
know the law that you're allowed to do it. Insider threat. These are kind of insider threats we're talking about that stops you from getting in trouble by understanding it. So you got to understand
Mhm.
it's insider things too.
A current situation comes to mind, Kevin, a current employer here, one of the largest employers here in my area. I don't want to say the name.
Mhm.
Um, there was a news story that came out this week. A former employee still had access to the computer
Mhm.
system, and they went in and changed all the menus. This was kind of a bizarre thing, but
Mhm.
where there were allergies, like gluten-free and things like that. For some reason, they changed the menus so that it just messed up like all the allergy-free items. And then the company didn't notice it until like, a month later, or a month or so later. So they tracked down that person, but that person still had access after they left the
Yeah.
company to get
Mhm.
into their computer system.
They're
Even this
lucky they
is
didn't
a
take
big
the money.
employer too, a huge
Yeah.
employer.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay, so let's go to the best practices. This is the
hmm
thing that you really, and again, these things, it's just common sense, okay? But
hmm
the number one thing in there is the best way to stop these data losses, money losses, is multi-factor authorization, okay?
hmm
Authentication. Okay. Now, what's multi-factor? Okay, multi means more than one, right? And
hmm
right now we use one. Most of us use one, which is ID and a password. Put an ID
hmm
password in there, and that's it. So that's just one factor. Now, what happens is that once somebody has access to your password and your ID, you're in trouble. Multi-factor is that now all of a sudden there's a number two area, which is your phone. That's when you get these
Hmm.
passcodes to your phone and you put it
Yes.
in there. So
Hmm.
that's multi-factor authentication.
Hmm.
Okay. If your bank doesn't do it, ask them to do it. Okay. Any place you feel that security is important, ask them. You want multi-factor authentication.
Hmm.
Okay. You got to have it. I use it on most of the stuff I have right now. I use it. I make sure that there's a code that goes into my phone before I put it in there. Because again, getting access to the passwords are not that difficult anymore because we still use basic passwords. We still
Hmm.
use, our names and our addresses or whatever it is, our phone numbers. We
Hmm.
all use
Things that you can remember easily.
things that we can
So,
remember too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's number one.
Hmm.
Changing your passwords. Okay. Some people are still using the same passwords they used, when they first
10
started
years ago.
10
10
years
years
ago.
ago.
Okay. And
Hmm.
again, it's your kid's birthday, it's a phone number, something like that. Change
Hmm.
them, make them complicated.
Hmm.
Now, install updates. The reason why updates are on your computer, they say, because they find out there's something missing and there's a patch or something that needs to be there because somebody found a way to get into the system.
Hmm.
So a lot of the ransomware comes from there's a system glitch that they find it, and what they do is exploit people who have not updated their system.
Hmm. I
So by
remember that happened a
updating
few
your
years ago with
system,
Microsoft. Hmm.
exactly,
Yes,
Microsoft,
remember that?
exactly, Microsoft.
Yeah,
Yep.
they were hacked. Yeah,
They were hacked because people did not update their system,
they didn't
and that's what
install it.
happened. Yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
Next one, obvious one, just take a moment to think before you click. you know thing. It's funny. My daughter called me up just a couple days ago. She went to UPS, dropped something off. By the time she got home, she got an email from UPS saying, "We need more information. You dropped the package off, right?" And all of a sudden she goes, "Wait a minute, that could have happened so fast." And she looked it up and said it was UPSS, one of the fake
Oh,
ones. You know,
wow.
Again, what
And
they
she really
did,
was at UPS too.
yeah, but what happened again? It was this timing. The timing was right that she had to be at UPS the same time this fake
Isn't
UPS
that
came in.
strange?
And well,
Yeah.
it's not strange. It's just everything's random. It's the randomness. How
Yeah.
many times I get my Netflix account that's just been canceled, and I didn't have a Netflix account. I'm like, oh, I can't believe. Oh, wait, I don't even have a Netflix account. We
Right.
get these
Right.
things on our phone. We get them,
Yeah.
and it just happens, and all of it is random to the point, and it happens so often you ignore them. But all of a sudden, oh, I just went to UPS, and how did they?
You just
Oh,
click
wait a
on
minute.
it. You just click on that link,
Yeah, yeah,
and
and then they
yeah.
inside.
Yeah, you're right. They're sending, I got a couple in the past couple of weeks that looked
Yeah,
weird and they sent links in the
yeah,
text message. Click on
yeah,
this link.
yeah.
Oh, I got something. My package from overseas was sitting in customs and to get the package, should click on the link. It was a text message like out of the
Mhm.
blue. I'm like, package from
Yeah,
overseas. Well,
yeah.
what?
Mhm.
Yeah, just they're trying anything, really anything they can, to get on your phone or get in your computer any way they can.
And text messages. So everything is wide open. Before we talked about just emails, getting emails, fake emails. Now we get them all over the place, all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then finally, the last tip, best practice, whatever you call it, is you got to have a cyber insurance policy.
Hmm.
Because if you're talking about community associations, board of directors, who again, from the beginning, we said don't have an IT firm, don't have a information officer, doesn't have even a documentation about what to do in case of a cyber demand. They don't have any of these things. Okay, so what do you do? Okay, you got to have a cyber policy. Now,
Oh, absolutely.
what I'm going to do is go over quickly what the cyber insurance policy covers to show that what you understand is that when a claim occurs, you have the coverage. Number one is your liability insurance agreements. Okay, when we talk about liability insurance agreements, then this is because you're sued. Okay, you're sued for two reasons. Okay, you're sued because a regulatory agency came in and said, guess what? You didn't do your job properly. We're going to come in and we're going to find you. Okay, we're gonna do our due diligence. We're gonna find you. That's number one. The second one is that I'm suing you I live here because you didn't have due process. You didn't have information. You didn't vet the people properly. You didn't do your job properly. You didn't talk to a cybersecurity. You don't have a cybersecurity plan. And as a result of that, I have suffered a loss. So that's lawsuit. So the first one is liability, pure lawsuit. Your breach response insurance agreements are more important because once that data breach comes into play, now there's certain things you have to do. You have to notify everybody. You have your data breach person comes in and actually look and see what was the full extent of it. And when you talk about notifying everybody, it's not just people who live in the community association, but people who used to live there. Okay. Maybe
Hmm.
people who came through that front gate and gave a driver's license to. So the next thing you have is a cyber extortion coverage. And cyber is extortion is again that data breach. And I have a data breach, and you look and everything's locked down, you can't get in there, and it's locked. So you need coverage for them to pay for it. So now all of a sudden that 5.2 million or a $75 million loss, that comes out of here. Doesn't come out of your company's pocket. And then your crime insurance coverages. That is your social engineering coverage. It's your wire transfer fraud coverage. It's your computer fraud coverages. Those are all covered under your crime. And the most important thing that you have here is a cyber breach coach. So if you think you have an issue, guess what happens? You get to call up your cyber breach coach and say, I am concerned. I lost my laptop. I don't know if the information's on there or not. What do I do?
Great. So you get great advice.
Mhm.
It's the security and the peace of mind of having that person to call. And if you have the coverage on, of course you can have the coverage to call the coach. It's just peace of mind,
Mhm. Mhm.
definite peace of mind, and great
Yeah.
advice, what
Mhm.
to do.
Yep. Yep. So,
Because
so
it's
that's it. That's
stressful.
kind of your what we're talking about there.
Great, fantastic. So that's what is cyber insurance. And now we're going to do the Q&A portion of today's webinar. Let's see if we have any questions that have come in. Let's see, I don't see any yet, but if anybody thinks of any, feel free to type them in. Nope, I don't see any
Oh,
questions.
not no question from Steve Layton. He always have a question for us.
I know, Steve. Steve always has questions.
I
Yeah,
know. I know.
I don't see any that have come in, but if you think of any questions later on, I'll
Sure.
give my email one more time.
Mhm.
Feel free to send me an email. It's sherry.branson, Branson, at mwins.com. Happy to answer your questions. Either myself or Kevin will answer your questions. And lots of great information today about cyber. Now I'd like to mention our risk management hotline. This hotline provides you with 1 hour of free access to an attorney. It's available to any travelers insured with Community Association Management liability coverage. It's available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can call 855-548-8656. And you can speak to an attorney for 1 hour for free. If you think you have a claim or you're concerned about something, a phone call or an email or a letter that you received from a homeowner, this is a great resource and tool to share with your customers, with your board members. And it looks like we did get a question here. We have somebody who raised a hand. Let's see. Philip. Okay, I don't see the question though. Let's see. He raised his hand. Philip, if you could type it in the chat box, um, what your question is, and I'll keep going with the information that we have up. I don't see a question typed in anywhere. Okay. So that's our risk management helpline. And then I'd also like to mention that Kevin does a monthly webinar, a PowerPoint, a podcast, sorry. We do the webinars, podcast called Common Sense for Common Areas. And it's with Robert Nordland, Julie Adamant. And Kevin, can you talk about it a little bit about your
Oh,
podcast?
sure. It's a weekly podcast that we do. I show up maybe once or twice a month, and we talk about just current issues for community associations. If you're in our community association industry, if you are a insurance professional, want to know more about it, this is the look into Common Sense for Common Areas. It's really good, and again, we do them I think every Monday morning they come out.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Great. Kevin's on once or twice a month, just to let you know. And you can listen to it at any place that you listen to your podcast. It's available at Apple, Google, Spotify, and Stitcher. So it's a great resource, great tool. And they cover a lot of other topics as well, everything related to community associations. They cover accounting, they cover legal issues, just really everything across the board. So it's a great, great podcast. And
Okay.
let's see, Philip, if you think of your question later on, I don't see a question typed in there. I'm going to give my email one last time. It's sherry.branson@amwins.com. You can email your question to me at any point. So thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you
All
for a
right.
great
Thanks a lot.
webinar. Thank
Okay.
you.
All
Thanks for
right.
joining us, everybody, and have a great afternoon and have a
All right.
great Thanksgiving. Have a
All right.
happy
Take care.
holidays.
All right.